Good morning. Welcome to the Celtic Way Morning Briefing Live. It's Friday, June the 23rd, or as you and I both know it, Brendan Rodgers Speaks Day. Did a wee bit of talking yesterday, but he's going to address the media in full today. My name's Tony Haggerty, at Haggerty10 on a Twitter handle, and I'm delighted to be joined today by Ryan McGinlay, at the Ryan McGinlay on the Twitter handle. How are you, Ryan? Excited? Can't wait? Was that a wee kind of... Did that whet your appetite for today's main event, the Celtic TV interview last night?
It certainly did. I don't know about you, but I was smiling for the whole 10 minutes that he was speaking. I felt like it could have went on a bit treble that amount of time, and I would have enjoyed it just as much. Yeah, I tweeted out last night that it felt real after he'd came out and spoke. The fact that he was in the new training gear, he was talking about goals for this season, talking about being back at the club. Yeah, it was all very exciting because obviously we'd get press releases before, we'd get statements from the club that he joined, but they were just words. Now we had the audio to go with the words, and yeah, it feels real, and I feel like it's all systems go now, starting with today when he faces the media.
Indeed. Now, first and foremost, as we do every morning, excuse me, we say thank you to everybody who has subscribed to the Celtic Way. If you haven't subscribed to the Celtic Way, why not take out a subscription, and you can help us contribute top quality journalism covering the club you love, all for the click of a button, guys. www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe. That's www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe. You'll get unlimited access to everything that's written on the website. Maybe flag up a couple of things that are on it today later on. But yes, Ryan, now we spoke off air before we came on, and I said I thought he came across with a fair bit of humility when he spoke yesterday, Brendan, to the club TV, spoke to Jerry McCulloch and answered a few questions. Also felt that it was put on the tee for him to smash down the middle of the fairway as well, Ryan, you know. But his answers were, as you say, kind of whetted your appetite for what's more to come, talked about playing an attacking style, a winning team, covered a myriad of subjects. He spoke about a lunch with Callum McGregor, which was similar to the dinner that he had with Scott Brown the first time he came in. He spoke to the captain to get all the details of the current squad. Just good to see that kind of history repeating itself, Ryan, and hopefully history off the field is repeated on the field, because he won 7 out of 7 when he was here, and he's committed to bringing Celtic another winning team, and also talked about European ambitions as well.
Yeah, you were talking about humility. I would definitely agree with that. He seemed, I don't know if he was trying to put it across like that, but he seemed a bit, I don't know, not timid or nervous or anything, but he felt as if he knew how big a job this was coming back into the club. He was talking about the fact that this is the first time he's probably been into a club that's just coming off the back of real success and a real feel good mood. So that was coming across well in the interview as well. I was impressed with how measured he was when he was talking about things. He didn't come across as arrogant or boastful or anything like that. He genuinely sounded humble and humbled that he was offered the job, which is great. I think it was a really good start from him. I've seen a lot of people on Twitter saying, "Oh, he's got me again. I'm back in. He's worked his magic," and yeah, I think he is a master when it comes to these sort of interview situations. He's measured, as I said before. He just understands what to say and how to say it. And I tweeted out last night that his box office, he certainly did feel like that with some of the statements he was coming out with. So yeah, very, very. It was a very, very positive 10 minutes to listen to. And yeah, I'll probably listen to it a couple of more times over the weekend just to whet my appetite, as well as the press conference today, probably.
Yes, he's going to address all the media, fan media today. Might be a different set of circumstances, Ryan. Might have to confront questions that everybody wants answers to, or certainly lots of people in the Celtic fraternity would like answers to, and to see his take on it. Be interesting on that. Obviously, the main ones being why he left the first time round. He's going to get asked that, isn't he? That's a certainty to come up, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. He's definitely got questions that need to be answered. That's the way it is. It's the way that he left as well. It's going to be interesting how he tackles a lot of the questions,
Yeah.
especially today. I'm sure that he'll do it in the way that he knows best. He'll never put you in a disaster. That's the thing with Brendan Rodgers. He'll always find his way around a comment. He's always got the media's. He's always got them wrapped around their finger, you would say, or around his finger rather. He just knows what to say and when to say it, and that's why I think it's a good appointment as well, because you know you're never going to get a nightmare in front of a press conference as well. He's always going to give his own balanced look and take on things, and he'll always defend the club, which is really good as well.
Yeah, he certainly will do that. That's a given. Now, lots of comments coming in, so I'm just going to read a few out, Ryan. Take it from there. I've starred a few of them, so go on. First one up. Feel like Tony's not been on the show for a while. One day, Danny, I was just away.
That's what happens when you take a day off, Tony.
One of the guys said, I listened to Brendan Rodgers interview last night. Brilliant times ahead, says Kevin Ferrer. Morning, Kevin, how we doing? Mickey Monaghan, hail, boys. I've got the press conference butterflies, Mickey. Press conference butterflies. Some of the fraternity on the Celtic way don't like the word presser. Hazel, fun. Morning, Hazel, how you doing? Morning. Let's get to work, boys. Yes, that's Brendan's new scene, isn't it? Let's get to work. 4:20 somewhere. I watched the wee interview more than once. Let's say you were saying that yourself, Ryan, that you've watched it more than once and you probably watch it again.
That was the thing. I was away out. I was heading out to go and get my dinner. I was going to go through the drive-through. I actually stopped at the car park to watch the whole 10 minutes of it. I was like, do you know, when Brendan Rodgers speaks, as I've been waiting for him to speak all week, you listen, you stop what you're doing, and then you listen. The people
intently.
They listen intently. The people in the drive-through must have seen me. I was obviously parked. I was in the car park. The people in the car park must have seen me smiling at my phone, because I was just hearing things that I wanted to hear from the manager. I know we'll probably get into the sort of details of what he was saying, but they're talking about the brand, bringing the brand to South Korea and Japan. These are the buzzwords for me that I like to hear, and it shows. Ticked every single box for me with regards to what he was saying. He was talking about the players in the team, talking about the brand, as we said before, talking about the recruitment. I don't know about you. I think we should talk about those recruitment comments. It's looked very, very much like a sort of Peter Lawwell, you've got your act together and you're not involved with the transfers anymore. That's at least how it came across to me. It seems now that there's a structure with regards to with the signings that Celtic are going to make, and the fact that he's happy to be a part of that sort of transfer committee when they're recommending on players. It seems like that's the case with Odin Holm, and it will be the case with future transfers down the line. So that's very, very encouraging.
Tim on comes in. Morning, folks. Rodgers' demeanour was different. Gone was the cockiness and much more business-like.
I felt that as well.
Yeah. Jerry McCann, morning, boys and girls. Morning, Jerry, how you doing? Seamus Gallagher, morning, lads, how we doing? Seamus. Jerry O'Rourke, morning everybody, morning. And Andrew Gallia saying it's good to see the recruitment department working away, bringing in talent for the manager to nurture. You've just sort of spoke about that, but we'll talk about the actual comments that he said. And Jerry O'Rourke saying, let's hope there is no nonsense today, back the manager. And Kevin Ferrier saying, the man's a born winner, come on, let's get behind him. He's one of us. Les D saying, morning folks, morning Les D. Lots more comments coming in, but let's go to some of the comments. Right, first of all, we'll do the recruitment one, shall we? I'll just try and flick it up here and see what he said. He was asked about, what about your first signing? Excuse me, Odin Thiago Holm, and he started by saying, the one thing I'll start by saying is the recruitment team, when Michael took me through the structure of the club from where it was at when I was here before, I can see a clear change in that infrastructure and the team behind the football team. Mark Law has done a brilliant job with the recruitment. When you see the markets the club's operating in, he's done a great job in bringing in players that fit into the profile of Celtic, and Odin is one of those players. That's what you said there. That was his comments on the fact that he seems very, very pleased with the infrastructure that's now set in terms of Celtic recruiting players. A good first comment. I really liked that. That's the one that kind of leapt out at me, that he seemed very happy that was the way forward. And I said the other day that Dermot Desmond and Michael Nicholson kind of liked working under a manager in Ange like that, and they were getting the recruitment spot on. And I think they want to up it now and continue apace with Brendan at the helm, and everybody in every department, football department, recruitment department, singing from the same hymn sheet, and it's a powerful weapon going forward, I think, for Celtic.
Yeah, we've all got to be all the manager, the board, the players that are involved with recruit, or the staff that are involved with recruiting players, have all got to be singing from the same hymn sheet, all got to be playing the same game, and it's good that seems like that's the case very, very early on. Everyone seems to be harmonious with regards to transfers, which means that Rodgers will be working under players that he actually wants and he's signed off on, rather than players that are handed to him. You look at players such as Shved. I think the big one was Shved when he was signed. His comments were very, very telling that he didn't explicitly go out and scout this player and want this player. So the fact that has changed, I think it's better. I think it really, really bodes well for the future. It shows that Celtic are in a really good place, and maybe even a better place than where they were when Brendan Rodgers first came in, because he'll be getting the players that he wants to work with that have been yesed by a committee, which means he doesn't have too much power. He will have final sway over signings, but he doesn't have too much power that we're signing players that just do not fit with the system and fit with our model. So yeah, it's very, very positive comments, and I'm looking forward to seeing what other players that are getting linked and then ultimately do come to the club. But it was a good first signing in Odin Holm, a 20-year-old Norwegian midfielder. That'll do for me. So he sounds pretty good in the clips. In the clips that I've watched of him, he looks like a pretty good player as well. So start as you mean to go on, and it's a good start for Celtic.
Yep, more comments coming in. I've started a couple. We'll just get into them. Here's one. The Boise Bus, Russell Boyce, who does the podcast. He said, "We're all under the Brendan Rodgers spell, and he's all for it." I think a lot of Celtic supporters are all for it as well. So, morning, Russell. Hope you're doing well, sir. Raymond Haddon. Tony, I thought you could talk a good game, but Brendan won yesterday. So, yes, indeed, I can talk a good game, or I think I'll talk a good game, but yeah, the man won hands down yesterday, very much so. Andrew Gillier saying, give Brendan a true marquee signing, someone of well-known talent, pay him what he's worth and make a difference in Europe. We spoke about that, and we have spoken about that during the course of the week, haven't we, Ryan? So, Jerry McCann saying, let's hope Celtic supporters all get behind the manager. I think there's a real kind of groundswell turning towards Brendan being backed by the majority of supporters. We've also spoken about that. We've said that we wouldn't dream of telling any other Celtic supporter how to support their club. I just know that I'll go all in on the manager in terms of supporting him, but I always have. I loved him when the first time he was around, and I'm hopefully going to love him again. So there you go. And Boyce's just said, haha, I just got a beamer. There you go. That's what we like to do. Jerry McCann saying they're all in, boys. And yeah, so listen, he said a lot of things. A lot of people were talking about the progression in Europe, Ryan, and he mentioned that, didn't he? He said, I'll try and, I've got all the kind of comments here, but yes, and he was asked where could he take Celtic, and then we spoke about this earlier in the week that he was inheriting a brilliant situation, Ryan. So he said, it'll be the first job I've come into where the team has been on a high. When I've gone into previous roles, there have been different situations. I think Ange Postecoglou's done a fantastic job here over the last couple of years, culminating and finishing with the treble. It's a fantastic achievement. But what you've got is a young, hungry squad who, if they keep that mentality, can continue to achieve. I think Europe was always a big factor for this club. Can we develop the team to do something in Europe? Domestically, it's always important. That's your bread and butter. So it's about being dominant in Scotland and transferring that into Europe and see if we can achieve something. That's why he's here, Ryan. He's not here to just win domestic trophies. Celtic are targeting becoming, I would say, I hesitate to use the words force, but certainly more than a bit part player in the European stage. And I think that's why he's been drawn back, because he's been given assurances that that's the next level that Celtic want to go to, and that he will be back sufficiently to try and achieve those aims.
Yeah, very much so. I feel like he's got to have been given assurances regarding Europe and regarding recruitment specifically for Europe. When you look at it from the outside looking in, Brendan Rodgers, yes, he done a great job at Leicester, but he's coming off the back of basically a partial relegation on his CV. So he wants to upgrade his CV. He wants to get back to where he was, or sort of in the eyes of the bigger clubs down south. Because, eventually he will want to go back down there. I know he's just arrived, but you know what Brendan Rodgers is like. He likes working in that league. So I think in order for him to do that, he'll need to do a good job for Celtic. And a lot of the time, these clubs only notice when Celtic are doing well in Europe. It's a bit of a shrug of the shoulder if Celtic win the league down south. That's almost expected. In Europe, if you do something, that's when they really pay attention to Celtic, you would say. So he's got to have been given assurances that he's going to be sufficiently backed for Europe. Otherwise, why would he be here? There's been numbers floated about over the past couple of days, 30, 35 million. I just wonder if that's before we sell anyone or after we sell, because it could be even more than that if he's got more money to spend, if players do end up leaving. But what I would say is he needs to be backed. He needs to bring in the players that both fit the system, fit the model, and fit Brendan Rodgers' style of play. If we can do that, then yeah, we can be more of a force in Europe than we have been. We don't want to just be competing. We want to be winning games, and we want to be progressing to the latter stages. We've got to speculate to accumulate if that's the case, and bring in really good players that can bring us there. These players are available. You just need to scout them before the other teams do. And I think this will be the first big test for our scouting market or our scouting team to find these stars before the other teams do and they become unaffordable for us.
Yep, totally agree with that. And I think Brendan's getting to work on that, isn't he, to continue the good work that Celtic did under Ange in the past 2 years in terms of the recruitment. Eric Peterson comes in and says, great to see how much Brendan Rodgers rates Callum McGregor. We all know how good he is, but great to hear a manager who really rates him as a top player and professional. Hope that Callum kicks on even more with that encouragement. I always said that it was Brendan Rodgers who was largely responsible for turning Callum McGregor into the player that he's become, that machine that he's become, to be fair. He wasn't alone in getting the best out of players, like got the best out of Scott Brown. Scott Brown and Callum McGregor were sensational under Rodgers. Stuart Armstrong came on as a player with Brendan Rodgers. Too many players to mention from Brendan Rodgers' first reign that he developed into real cracking individual footballers. And if he can do that again, then Celtic will want to watch. And we've also spoken at length about how he's inheriting a great situation, a brilliant squad of players, and he mentioned himself that they're young and hungry. And if he can tell them that they can achieve, he can guide them to achieving good things, then it's a real positive for Celtic that this manager has come in at this time when Celtic are starting to build something, and he can, enhance that and take it further. And I guess that's where the European scene comes in. Tim and on saying out the group stage, domestic dominance isn't in an invigorating style. Time to get behind them, whether you like Brendan Rodgers or not. And Jerry McCann saying he thought it was telling when he said he had lunch with McGregor a few weeks ago while he was in Spain. So people reading into that how long has he known that he's going to be the Celtic manager type thing.
That would add up as McGregor had a warm weather training camp with Scotland and Spain, so it'd be a wee bit easier to get to there.
Yeah.
Even if I know Mallorca is obviously one of the islands. It's not mainland Spain, but it would have been pretty easy to get a flight over and back. I think, especially if the new manager came calling. It was good to hear that. Obviously, McGregor's one of the players that's experienced Brendan Rodgers at Celtic before. The others being James Forrest and Scott Bain, who were both mentioned in the interview as well. But it was really telling to hear about Callum McGregor, about how much Brendan Rodgers rates him. I think Brendan Rodgers would have been trying his hardest to get him down at Leicester in the first place. So the fact he's still got him at Celtic will be a bit of an added bonus to him. He's got McGregor in his peak. He's a captain of the football club. He's running games both for club and country. This is the best Callum McGregor I think that Brendan Rodgers has had in his time with managing him. This one that's coming up. So it's very, very exciting to see what he does. It'll be interesting to see if he continues with him in the number 6 role or he pushes him further forward. my guess would be that he maybe stays as the number 6, especially domestically, because he can just run games. He's been absolutely phenomenal in that position for 2 years, but we'll see. It's all about the manager's decision at the end of the day. If he wants to bring in a number 6 or play Tomoki Iwata in that position, then ideal. But either way, Callum McGregor will be in that team, and he's sort of on the field general for whatever message Brendan Rodgers wants to put across to the rest of the players. So yeah, very important that we've got him. Very important. Even the comments that Callum McGregor was making earlier on with Jerry McCulloch and that sat down or the Zoom interview that they done, just talking up Brendan Rodgers. It seems as if there's not a bad relationship between the two, and that's great. It's a great thing to start off with. A solid foundation. And yeah, long may that good relationship between the two continue, because that will only mean success for Celtic in the long run.
Now, this is what he said about Callum. He said Callum was pivotal back then, just seeing a young player develop. I've obviously seen him when I left, and just seeing him continue to make that growth was really pleasing. I have to say he was a big part of my decision to come back as well, because I had lunch with him for a few hours in Mallorca, and just understanding the squad and where it was and what he felt the club were at. He gave some great feedback that the group is hungry, it's young and ready to keep pushing forward. And for me, Callum's an absolutely brilliant player on the pitch. His brain, his view of the game is right up there with the very, very best I've ever worked with. He's robust, he plays many games, he's an ultimate professional, but within that he has great humility. So I'm absolutely delighted that coming back here, he's the club captain. That's high praise indeed from a manager like Brendan Rodgers, isn't it? His brain and saying that he's up there with the best that he's ever worked with. When you consider the players that Brendan Rodgers has worked with, that's praise of the highest caliber, Ryan.
Yeah, it definitely is, and I'm just glad. I'm grateful that we have that sort of continuity. Obviously, it's amazing that Callum McGregor has stayed for as long as he has. You don't see that often. He's probably the last of his kind that shows that sort of loyalty to the club. We're very, very lucky that things transpired that Scott Brown left the club, and then we were in a position to give Callum McGregor the captaincy, and he's taken that. He's taken that and improved as a player. I think the captaincy really suits him, because I'll be honest, I had my doubts about Callum McGregor being a captain, and then I watched him for a couple of games. I was like, this guy's a captain, but a different one, a sort of modern day captain. Doesn't need to do as much speaking, but he leads the team in that midfield. It's great that I think Brendan Rodgers can improve him even more. As I said before, he's in the prime of his career. Brendan Rodgers has worked under some really good midfielders down south, even at Leicester. You look at players such as Yuri Tielemans. There's a couple of things that he's probably done when he's down at Leicester that he can teach Callum McGregor just due to working at that level. But yeah, it's definitely exciting. I'm glad that he's still there. I'm glad that this relationship is now renewed, and I'm so glad that McGregor made that effort to go to Mallorca and speak to the manager and even gauge or sort of tell the manager the state of the squad, because that then gives him a head start in terms of knowing where the squad situation is. I know he's a Celtic fan. I know he's been watching the games, but it's good that he's got that inside knowledge from the captain, because the captain wants the best for Celtic Football Club. So he's not going to sell him lies or anything like that. So he'll have given an honest overview of how the squad is, but it seems like it was mostly positive from what Rodgers was saying.
John Boy 1888 gets to the crux of the matter, Ryan. Hope Rodgers paid for lunch. There you go. That's what we want to know. Who paid for lunch that day?
He probably owned the restaurant.
Now, some comments are coming in. I'm just trying to get through as many as I can, so bear with me, guys. David Ferguson, morning, David. How you doing? Regular contributor and commenter. Can't understand why any of the players would want to jump ship before having at least one season under Rodgers. I think that as well. The gravitas the man has as soon as he walks into that dressing room, it's, I think lots of players will have worked under managers, good managers before, and been one of them, but I don't think they'll have worked under a manager like Brendan Rodgers. And why would you, as you say, head out the door when that man's walking in the door? You would listen intently to what he has to say and embark on another exciting journey with Celtic at this moment in time. Blake Owen says he can see Brendan Rodgers bringing an enforcer in the middle of the park still. You've spoken about, would that be Tomoki Iwata? All sorts of scenarios unfolding there, really, isn't there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, now you could even make a similar sort of comparison. I know they play in different positions in the midfield, but Stuart Armstrong signed the what was it he signed the season before, or was it midway through the season he signed from Dundee United? Tomoki Iwata was the same, albeit he came from Japan. He's had half a season under his belt. He's played football, but maybe Brendan Rodgers is the guy to come in and really improve him. Like, you've got to remember, he's in the peak of his career as well, as a midfield enforcer at the age of 25, 26. These are the sort of prime years. These are the years in which he can get about the park at his best. His legs will be very they'll be working really well, that's for sure. They'll still have that youth in them, but a wee bit more experience due to playing loads of games. It'll be interesting to see if Brendan Rodgers can improve his game, maybe improve his sort of positional stuff, because I think he's got all the attributes to be a top player, and under Rodgers, he could accelerate even more so into a good player. But I think he's got all the attributes. But look, if he isn't good enough, then Celtic will have the funds, and Brendan Rodgers will have the funds to replace him, or even supplement that position by bringing somebody better in. But it's all just guesswork at this time. We won't really know until Brendan Rodgers has taken the team and sort of assessed his options.
Yeah, agree with that. Now Matthew Blair comes in and saying, apart from the natural appeal of Celtic and the history it has, surely Dermot Desmond has to be given all credit for making this work. He's really pulled out all the stops to show that the board trusts Brendan Rodgers. And John Boy 1888 comes in and says, on a serious note, Dermot isn't getting younger, and I think he'd love to see Celtic regaining their reputation in Europe. Hence him throwing a bit of money at this. It's a bit like the Martin O'Neill era for him. It could well be. Here's hoping they are as successful as they were in Europe in the Martin O'Neill era, and you might get to see that European final, Ryan, which I keep my fingers crossed that you see that in your lifetime, sir.
You always say see a European final. I know you also say we need to win a European final as well.
I don't want to see one. I want to win it. Yeah, I don't want to get there.
We've not won one since 1967, so that's we've got to make up for lost time. Could you imagine Brendan Rodgers took us to a final?
Well, there you go.
It'd be absolutely
just
incredible.
imagine it.
That's all we've got at the moment. All we've got is imagining. It's up to him to make it reality.
I've told you before, the ultimate football romantic, ultimate football dreamer, but I couldn't handle a rerun of Seville if they got to a European final. I'd have to win. I can't bear the thought of that happening again. But hey, getting ahead of yourself. But I guess that's what football's about, isn't it? New managers coming in, and you just feel that there's something exciting happening. It felt like that when O'Neill came in. Feels a bit like that. I hesitate to use the words the second coming of Brendan Rodgers, but you know what I mean. The second stint, and people feeling optimistic about the future, and that they have, as close as they can see, an elite level manager that Celtic, the best candidate that Celtic could attract at this moment in time with this group of players. It's just exciting to see where a manager like Rodgers could take them. I think that's what everybody is excited about, or why they're excited about the future.
Yeah, absolutely. And also the fact that we've got the proof. The proof is in the pudding from 6-7 years ago when he first joined the club. The squad that he inherited, yes, there was some good players, but they all get better under Brendan Rodgers. There wasn't a single player that didn't get better under Brendan Rodgers. He seems to caress talent and make it better in the process. What is he going to do with players that are already really, really talented and were really talented under Ange Postecoglou? That's really exciting for me. Players like Jota, players like O'Reilly, we've mentioned them all week. Even players like Hagggerty, if they choose to stay, he might want to play under what's the next best thing to join in the Premier League? Playing under a Premier League level manager, an elite manager that's won things down there. That would be, I think it'd be perfect for him to sort of, in the next stage of his career, learn under Brendan Rodgers and become a better player. I dare to think what a Hagggerty under Brendan Rodgers could look like. I think that could be a pretty scary prospect, as well as Matt O'Reilly. It's always the midfielders. I go back to the midfielders and the wingers. I feel like those are the players that seem to get better under Brendan Rodgers. So guys like Jota, O'Reilly, Hagggerty, etc., even Abada if he chooses to stay. It's an exciting prospect. It's as if we've already half done a masterpiece and we've brought in Leonardo da Vinci to finish it off.
Hold you to that, young man. I'll hold you to that. Pete McGee, morning, Pete. he's lived through Lisbon and the final defeat in Seville, of course, and can say unequivocally to me that winning is way better than losing. I think I worked that one out for myself, Pete, to be fair, yep, and very much so. People said Seville was my generation's Lisbon. It was, but it didn't have the happy ending that Lisbon did. I want the happy ending. I want the fairy tale at some point in my lifetime, and that's to win a European final. I want that, so we'll see. Certainly for yourself, Ryan, I would want it for a young man like yourself. You know what I mean? So there you go.
Yeah, I think just with regards to the comments that Brendan Rodgers was making, it seems as if the club are pushing towards that sort of narrative. They're pushing to the fact that we need to improve in Europe. I'm glad that through Brendan Rodgers, you can tell that they're trying to address this. They know that our European record needs to improve. They know that we need to win a knockout tie, because this run that's going on is just, it's quite frankly unacceptable. But there's ties that we should have won in the knockout rounds that we didn't. I mean, I know Bodo Glimt played us off the park, but they're a team that we should be beating. When you look at the two respective clubs, that just went down to two awful performances. But the knockouts, Celtic have got to break that duck. They've got to break it. And then I think if they win one, then they'll win a few. It's just all about winning that first one. And I can't think of a better manager to start that than Brendan Rodgers.
Yeah, I guess it's excitement abounds. And I guess today as well, lots of Celtic supporters will be hanging on to his every word, won't they, in the press conference. 4 o'clock kicks off, for those who were wondering. I even think that Sky might show it, Ryan, might show the first.
They usually do.
Yeah, I would imagine that they will, so you can tune into that, and then obviously it'll be on the usual channels, won't it? I think Celtic TV will put out their version of it as well. We'll be keeping in touch with it all over the course of the day when it comes out.
Yeah, normally they do a live stream as well on the Celtic. I've noticed the past couple of times I've done a couple of live streams when it comes to press conferences, so you might even be able to watch the full press conference live through their media channels.
We'll keep your eye out for that. Or if you're going up to Celtic Park with your bag of cans, enjoy the day, although the weather's not exactly great, but if you want to go up to Celtic Park and see if Brendan comes out and gives the crowd a wave, do you think you'll do that again, Ryan?
I'm not sure. I don't know how he'll play it. I mean, if he wants to be consistent with the tone that he was using on the interview, I don't think he will. I think he's going to keep it consistent and just keep it low key. I think he talked about nostalgia once in the interview, but it was very much like, I've enjoyed that. That was the past. I'm not here for that. I'm here to do a job now. And in some ways, I think I would be more impressed if he didn't do it, if he just got straight to work, because then I think it would be outlined what the sort of relationship is going to be. I'm all for Brendan Rodgers being the manager and taking it very seriously. So, I mean, if he was to come out, it would be a nice moment, but I would be just as impressed if he didn't, to be honest.
Those comments about nostalgia, Ryan said, I'm very proud and obviously very happy to be here. I want to say a massive thank you to Dermot Desmond and the board for taking me back, and everything feels so natural. I'm really pleased. The nostalgia is great, but it's in the past, and hopefully from that period, what we achieved is set in concrete and will always be there. But I'm here again to win and to look forward and to continue with that mentality and to look to see if we can do something in Europe. There you go. It's as unequivocal as that. And he also said, my commitment has always been to playing attacking, aggressive football. And my last time here, we were able to achieve that, especially by playing so many games. So I think my commitment is always to be an attacking team, to be an aggressive team, and to be a winning team. That's always the promise I make. Here, Brendan. Take it from here.
Yeah. It doesn't get any better than that for me when he says stuff like that. I mean, we can take that nostalgia comment as well. I was obviously mentioning it as you were speaking.
Yes.
I absolutely love that. I think that's so measured, and that's the right way to go about things. The fact that he understands that he's got that feeling, but he doesn't want it at the same time. He wants to create a new history rather than the history that he's already made with the club. He says it's good that he's got that. He's got that carved in stone with regards to his trophies that he won the 7 out of 7, but he's very much here not to just take the job for nostalgic reasons, but to win. That I love hearing that. It shows that the hunger is still there, and if the hunger's there, then I think the rest of the pack should be quite worried.
For me, that was a cold clinical calculation. That was then. This is now.
Mm-hmm.
We did that. We move on. We are going on to bigger and better. I'm promising my commitment to making Celtic bigger and better domestically. We can continue. We're saying racking up the trebles, because trebles are very, very hard to do. But he certainly wants to continue the domestic dominance. But he's saying new regime, new infrastructure. Trust me, and I'll try and take you where we want to go. What's happened there is there. It will be set in stone. The Invincibles and all that. People will talk about that forever and ever. Amen. But as you say, creating a new Celtic history, and part of that Celtic history he wants to create on the biggest stage of all, and that's Europe, which I applaud, which is what every Celtic supporter craves. They just want to make inroads in Europe, and I think that's why he's back. You see, he's been given some sort of guarantee. He's back, nostalgic reasons, family reasons. He's happy to be back, but he wants to get to work. He wants to turn Celtic into some kind of outfit in Europe that you can turn around and say, yep, re-establishing your name on that scene again. And I think that's the unfinished business for him from the last time, what he was wanting. That's what he was wanting to try and achieve the first time. Factors, certain members, we all know who they are, maybe vetoed that or blocked that. This time, one of the contributors said there, I do think it has a kind of Martin O'Neill era feel to it, where Celtic, they won't spend recklessly, but they will throw some money at it to have a go at it. And we all saw how that turned out under Martin O'Neill. Got to their first final in 33 years, European final. And if Celtic could replicate anything like that, then it's going to be an exciting time to be at the club. And if you're a player and that manager walks in and you listen, how he can improve you, I think you'd want to be a part of that from the get-go.
Yeah, I totally agree with everything you're saying. Just a wee point on the fact that we're going to give it a go with regards to signings. What I would say is it's not a risk if you bring in good players, because as it turns out, there are plenty of suitors down south that if these players, if you do sign them for 5, 6, 7, up to 10 million, you'll make that back if they do well in Europe. Europe's the sort of acid test for these players. If they do it on that stage, then you will make it back in profits. The team will profit because you'll get further in the respective competitions. That'll give you a profit, and then those players that you do sign, now that they've done it on that level, it shows to the bigger teams that they can play that. They can play in that sort of atmosphere, and you can make money back. I think it's such a cliche, but you do speculate to accumulate with players like that. If you sign the marquee players, they do well domestically, they do well in Europe, you're going to make your money back and you're going to be in profit. And that's how the cycle keeps going. It seems as if now the club have understood that. There's no point in risking it. We've got guaranteed Champions League football. We might as well spend the money. And then if it goes well, if these players do well, we will make the money back, maybe even tenfold.
My ball coming in regarding Europe, we need to rein it in a bit. I think it's too early to call for a Euro final. I think it was Ange that said as supporters you can enjoy these moments and dream. I think everybody's allowed to dream.
Fans of the
my
dreamers.
ball. Aye, fans of the dreamers.
As long as that doesn't filter through to the players, then it's all good. But the fans are allowed to over exaggerate and look forward.
Yeah, and I agree with you, my ball, that there's a lot of football and a lot of stuff to turn Celtic into a kind of European final contestants. I get all that, but you've watched other clubs do it in the past, and you think to yourself, why can't Celtic compete domestically and in Europe? And it just needs the right guidance, the right set of circumstances, and the right manager at the helm, the right squad of players, all those things. And you think at this moment in time that Celtic are probably one of the best placed to try and at least have a tilt at that and give it its best shot, as you say, throw some money at it and see where it takes us. and I think Dermot Desmond's certainly on board with that. Michael Nicholson's on board with that, and the manager's clearly on board with that. That's why he's come back, and he will address a lot of those questions in the media today. And it's just, I think Celtic supporters just can't wait for this, Ryan, to hear his first kind of public utterances in front of all those media platforms, just to see what he says and to see how he comes across. I mean, if he came across well in the Celtic TV interview, as you would expect, but lots of eyes on him today, just intrigued and emotionally invested in what he's going to say today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, also because I think it's a live scenario, you can't edit live video, so it will be real,
you can't run away.
and offend. No, you can't run away. It's very, very much the sort of first real test. I know that the Celtic TV can be edited to any sort of way, but like I said, it looked authentic from where I was watching it. It looked like everything he was saying was genuine, and he does have that hunger for the club. We'll see it today in the press conference, just how he comes across with the media, what his answers are, because he will be asked more difficult questions, you would assume, than what he was asked yesterday. It was basically more of a I don't know. The Celtic TV interview yesterday was more of a sort of thing for Celtic fans to get excited by, him to sort of outline his vision, whereas the press will be a wee bit more scathing towards him. So it'll be interesting to see his reaction to questions and his responses as well. But I'm sure he'll come through it with flying colours. He did the first time. He'll probably enjoy this. He'll enjoy being the centre of attention, and I'm sure he'll pass with flying colours.
Now, on the website today, Ryan, I've put a couple of things up. There's an opinion piece by James Dailey about what history tells us about Celtic's European prospects. I'll put the link to that in the comment section, guys, and you can have a read at that. Another good piece by James Dailey. There it is. Yep, there it's there. And also a piece by myself, and if you subscribe to the newsletter, you'll have got this in your email inbox last night. But I was just kind of musing on the fact that both Graham Souness and Alan McCoist went on TalkSport to say they were worried about Celtic and recruiting of Brendan Rodgers and the financial promises that he's been made by Dermot Desmond. And I was making the point that a lot of people outside of the football club are focusing in on the negativity about the Celtic fans division. And I'm making the point that it's the worst nightmare scenario for a lot of people, that a Celtic United, they'll never be defeated. That was the words that I used, and I said that's the kind of worst case scenario for the likes of Messrs Souness and McCoist, who kind of see the writing on the wall a bit, and they know there's football. They're realists, so when they're saying that they've got concerns, then you listen to them as well. You respect a lot of people's opinion in football, and people have been there and done it, and so they're worried about Brendan Rodgers and the kind of financial muscle that Celtic might have to not only continue to dominate the domestic game, but maybe make inroads in Europe, Ryan. That's the point I was making. But that constant about picking up on the fact that Celtic supporters are divided about this. There is a section of Celtic supporters divided about Brendan Rodgers' return. Not all of them. And I think now most of them have been won over or will be won over by the end of today.
Yeah. That sort of negative element of the support or those that aren't sort of behind Brendan Rodgers, I think, are even more and more in the minority. I don't want to speak for loads of Celtic fans, but it does feel like that way, especially online and social media. You've seen the sort of outpouring of appreciation, you would say, after that interview came out last night. Now, I know a lot of people will be quite loud. You talk about that a loud minority or a silent majority, but it seems as if there's loads and loads of fans that are really behind Brendan Rodgers now. We don't forget what happened 4 years ago. It's very difficult to forget. He did leave us in the lurch in the middle of the night, which meant Neil Lennon had to come back in and sort of save the day. But it's one of those ones, I think time is a healer, and I just think it's the perfect timing now for both sides. The fact that there's other supporters sort of try to talk about the negatives indicates to me that they're a wee bit worried about what's going to happen, because they know what happened before. Brendan Rodgers has never lost a trophy at Celtic. If he gets his way, then that might still be the case in a couple of years' time. That's the battleground, or the sort of the landscape of the way Scottish football was when he was in charge. It could very well stay that way if Brendan Rodgers gets what he wants. When you think about it, he's going to get even more back than he was the first time. So that would point to another period of sustained domination. I know we've had that in the past 2 years, but we could consolidate it even more. Brendan Rodgers, he's an elite level manager, and I can see why opposition supporters would be worried about that, because it seems as if when Celtic have got their house in order, everyone else seems to worry and sort of dwell on the negatives. And I think there's a reason for that, and it's because Celtic, when they've got their act together, they're a scary prospect.
Yeah, and that's the point I'm making, that all the outside noise, don't think Celtic or the supporters or the management team will care a jot about what people are saying. Let's get to work, Ryan, domestically
That'll catch
and
on
in Europe. That's
I
it.
think that's going to catch on. It's already catching on to me. Whenever I hear that, I think of Brendan Rodgers. So I don't know if it'll go to the same level as "We Never Stop." I absolutely loved that tagline, but I'm willing to give it a go.
I like the kind of cold, calculated, clinical nature of it. Let Brendan do the job he was brought in to do, and all the rest is outside noise, to be fair. And I think that's the way the manager and the players will approach it as well, even after today. And I think he will address it. And I think once he's addressed it, Ryan, that's it. You address it once and once only. And I leave it up to the man himself to choose the words that to the question that he'll inevitably be asked today. And I leave it up to individual Celtic supporters to decipher whether those words are satisfactory or not. It's not for me to, I'll stress this and I re-emphasise it, that not for me to tell anybody how to support their club or how they feel about Brendan Rodgers coming back to Celtic. Speaking personally for myself, I am absolutely over the moon and delighted, and I am firmly behind this managerial appointment. Big up to Dermot Desmond, Michael Nicholson for their involvement in it and making it happen, and just giving you that real rush of adrenaline and excitement after the disappointment of Ange Postecoglou leaving, and a treble which I think was it's never hollow, but it just kind of, I don't think it was celebrated the way it should have been or could have been. And
No, that shadow
I
was
just
there.
feel
The
that was
shadow was definitely
overshadowed
there.
it, for a lot of people. And I think now they can maybe, as I said the other day, go out and celebrate it and look forward with optimism and the hope that there's more trebles in the pipeline if possible. But those are hard to come by. But what I know is they've got the best manager that Celtic, a club like Celtic, could possibly attract at the helm at this moment in time. He won 7 out of 7 the first time. Let's see where he goes when he gets to work in his second stint, and that starts today when he addresses a lot of questions that fans maybe want answered to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, put it this way: if Brendan Rodgers was to give up one of the domestic trophies in order for a sustained European run, I would take that every day of the week. Trebles aren't normal. That's just the fact that Celtic have normalised trebles in the past 10 years. Absolutely ridiculous record. They're supposed to be really difficult to win, and they are difficult to win, but it just shows you the levels that Celtic have been operating at. To just think the fact that that he'll be backed even more so than these previous managers when they've achieved that. When Brendan Rodgers achieved 2 trebles in his first 2 seasons, despite the backing was a wee bit up and down.
Yeah,
that's quite worrying for other teams, I would say. I think it's quite concerning the fact that he's going to get backed even more so. So if, let's say, for example, I will see, and I heard somebody else make this comment the other day, I will see Celtic win another League Cup in my lifetime. That's just a given. It's the landscape that we find ourselves in. I want to see us getting in a European run, because those aren't guaranteed. Or not guaranteed, but they're less likely to happen. I'd love to see Celtic go on a run in Europe. I think they're much more memorable than a domestic cup win, so I would happily take that trade. I don't know about you, Tony, but I would definitely take that.
Oh, you know where I stand on that. I want a redemption shot for Seville. I want my European final redemption shot, and I've told you before, I need a crystal ball. I need to win. I can't suffer getting all the way there and losing that. It's not about the journey. It's not about the run. You've got to win. But hey, I would enjoy it while it happened as well, to be fair. But nah, if they get to a European final, per chance to dream and all that, they have to win. But I would be. It's what I want. It's what every Celtic supporter craves. Another Seville-like experience, only with the silver lining, not the clouds. All right. So
yeah, I'd take it in Dublin next year. Europa League final in Dublin next year.
Dear oh dear, can you imagine? Yeah, correct. I think there's a few Celtic supporters in Dublin, isn't there?
Yeah, I don't think they need to travel too far for the game.
But there you go. It's over to Brendan's capable hands to at least try and deliver that. And that's the promise he makes, is a winning team and play aggressive football and to try and make inroads in Europe. That's all you can ask. That's all any Celtic supporters asks. And all we ask is that you subscribe to the channel, Ryan. See that wonderful segue into the strapline running along the bottom there. Seamless. Subscribe to the Celtic Way website. And we thank everybody that has, and we thank you for your comments. Try and read as many out as possible. Love the chat. Love your thoughts on it. Love the fact that you support the club the way myself and Ryan do as well. But you can help support top quality football journalism, covering the club you love. Myself, Ryan, and Eden McDonald try to provide that. Click of a button, www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe. That's www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe. Thanks, everybody. Enjoy today. Enjoy Brendan's words of wisdom. Hope you've enjoyed our words of Norman wisdom this morning from Tony Haggerty and Ryan McGinlay. But there you go. We do it every day. We'll be here all summer. Guys, thank you for your contribution. Thanks for tuning into the show. We genuinely don't pay lip service to it. We value and appreciate every single contributor, every subscriber. It means a lot to us. You've helped build this and build it into something that people factor into their day. And that's not lost on myself or Ryan or Aidan. And we try and give you our A game every day, or as much as we can. As I've said before, they don't make mirrors the way they used to. So, hey, it's you're stuck with my boat race most days. Had a day off yesterday, but sometimes you just got to get your beauty sleep, haven't you, Ryan?
Absolutely.
Something like that. But guys, have a wonderful weekend. As I say, it starts today at 4 o'clock. You can enjoy what Brendan says. I hope it's to your satisfaction, whatever camp you sit in with Brendan. But we wish him all the best. Ryan, thanks for your contribution. Stellar, as always. Love it. Enjoy it. And we shall see you on Monday, troops. Take care.